My name is Alex Wong. I graduated from Melbourne Uni in Australia, and I specialize in accounting and finance. I got my chartered practicing accounting in year 2002. In Intune, I run the business development segment. I'm also a certified partner accounting running with my wife. My wife is actually the other partner that runs the firm.
My name is Lily Yong. I graduated with a corporate finance degree from University of Adelaide, Australia. My first job is with Ernst & Young, an accounting firm, for 5 years. Then I moved on to manage an internal audit department for an Australian listed company. I'm a member of Certified Practicing Accountant Australia and also a member of Malaysian Institute of Accountants. So in Intune, I am the managing partner. I take care of the sales, business development, and also overseeing the operations at Intune. So I've been a practicing accountant for the last 20 over years.
The company was started long time ago when I was still with KPMG. So during that time, I got a lot of friends who are having complication and stress when they run business. And most of their challenge is they cannot hire an accountant. So as a result, they always only hire maybe a clerk or an exec. A lot of time they have a lot of issues with their finance, payment, sometimes the money get lost, sometimes the accounts don't close in time, payment is not done in time. So that time when they wanted to hire me, then I was thinking, how are they going to pay me? Like if they were to hire me and I charge them 10,000 for SME, how can they afford me? So I went back and I think, and then one day I got this idea. This idea just popped up. If 5 of them combine, each one maybe pay me 3,000 a month, then I can serve 5 of them at one shot. I become like a HQ accountant to 5 of them. Then I can assemble a team to actually support them, and that's how Intune was formed. In terms of the company, our team structure is divided into sales and operation. So the sales is very simple. We serve our client by understanding their need, and then we provide them the solution. In terms of the operation, is divided into 2 segments currently. We have the finance, which take care of the day-to-day accounting for our client, from payment to preparing the financial statement. Another team that we have is doing the HR and payroll service to ensure that the day-to-day of the salary and remuneration, including compliance, are taken care of. As an accountant, as a service provider, we need to be able to sync along, tune into the processes of our client and customize. For example, maybe a manufacturing client would be very different from a trading client. So Intune means as a provider, we are tuning into their needs and requirements.
The vision of Intune is to be the leading finance and human resource outsourcing provider in Malaysia. In this vision, we want to create financially driven entrepreneurs and businesses who runs their business based on numbers, analytics in driving their business to their goals. The mission of Intune is to support every small medium enterprises becoming large by being their strong finance and HR pillars for their businesses. This means that we are providing them a team of knowledgeable professionals with strong processes and workflow to support them in their growth journey becoming large. There are 3 main types of services being provided at Intune. Number 1 is the finance, number 2 is the human resource, and number 3 is the consultancy. So in terms of finance, so what we do is that we does the everyday accounting and finance functions for our small medium enterprises clients, like preparing payments, even issuing invoice, official receipts, reconciling their sales collection on an everyday basis, up to giving them a financial dashboards and accounts every month, up to on a half-yearly basis to sit with them and review their financial dashboards, and at the end of the year to take care of their audit and taxes on their behalf. That's on the finance side. So the second type of service that we provide for our client is human resource related, which means we take care of their payroll. We make sure that the payrolls are calculated correctly, accurately, on time, and in compliance with all labor laws, EPF, SOCSO, etc. And then taking care of the leave for their staff and making sure that at year end, all the forms, all the compliance matters with Income Tax Office is complied with. So in terms of HR, we also assist our clients to issue HR related letters, like when a new staff come on board, to give them the employment letter, when they confirm, and if there's any increase in salary, bonus, we help them out with all those papers.
Good evening, everybody. Well, it's time for Intune Business Service Business Series again. Every month we will bring in some expert and we will share with you, ideas as well as information for you to run business. FNCO and all this lockdown have always been a troubling time, and one of the hot topic that many always ask us is retrenchment. So tonight we have an expert from GLT Law, Mr. Lim Kee Wai. He's going to be sharing with you guys out there. If you guys were to undertake a retrenchment exercise, how can you do it properly, and especially in time like this, how do you exercise due care in terms of discharging your responsibility as an employer, in terms of managing your staff costs and retrenchment exercise, as well as if you are a staff, if you are being retrenched, what are some of the things that you need to look out for, and how do you make it work with your employer? Without further ado, let me bring in Mr. Lim from GLT. Good evening, Mr. Lim.
Yes, hi Alex. Thank you very much. No pressure for calling me an expert.
Thank you for joining us, and I think tonight will be a very interesting night for some of our SME outside there, and to be able to hear from you. So before we start, let us get to know you a bit more and about GLT. Could you introduce yourself for us?
Sure. Hi everyone. Good evening. My name is Kee Wai. I'm presently at the head of the Industrial Relations and Employment Practice in Ganli and Tan, or GLT Law, as you can see. I've been in this industry, I've been in practice for more than 10 years, having specialized in mostly employment matters throughout my practice. So yeah, thankfully I've been invited by Alex to come and share some knowledge to everyone who would be interested in this topic in this tough times, like what Alex has said earlier. Yeah.
Okay. So if you have any question, audience, please feel free to plop it in the comment. We will do our best to answer you. Of course, if it's too intricate, you may want to seek professional advice with us separately. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. So tonight, let's start with a simple one. What is employee retrenchment?
Employee retrenchment, it sounds like a very big word, but retrenchment in its most ordinary sense, it's just cost cutting. That's it. If you look into the Oxford Dictionary, retrench or retrenching or retrenchment generally refers to the act of cost cutting. So when you try to extrapolate this and adopt it to an employment matter, what does it mean? In an employment matter, it generally just means, okay, I'm trying to cut costs, and by doing so, I'm trying to cut costs by cutting workforce. Meaning I'm trying to dismiss some employees by way of retrenching them, hopefully cut costs and manage the company's operating costs to make sure it stays afloat.
I see.
That's the most ordinary term. I don't think there's no legal term. There's no legal definition to retrenchment per se.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I never thought about it that way. It seems like it's always an ugly word when people talk about retrenchment. So yeah, it's in essence, it's true. It's really going through. I can remember, especially last year, some of the big company going through major retrenchment exercise when COVID-19 hit, and I think this year, that is a second wave lah. It's a second wave.
I mean, retrenchment sounds like a very bad word, from a claimant's perspective. But honestly, if you go into the precedents, you go into legal studies, retrenchment is actually something very, very acceptable. Retrenchment is a very acceptable and normal exercise accepted by the courts. It's always a prerogative of the company. Okay, I see the second question here. When can employer undertake employee retrenchment? Honestly speaking, there is no like a fixed list, exhaustive list on when you can go for retrenchment. Yeah. The thing is that the general rule is that a company, yeah, always has the right and prerogative to restructure its business as it sees fit. Yeah. There's no like a specific timing, so I don't have to wait, for example. Yeah. Uh, of course, a lot of retrenchment exercises has happened in the past 1.5 years because of COVID. Yeah. But does it mean that I cannot undertake a retrenchment exercises in the absence of economic downturn? No. Yeah. The rule is anytime I feel like restructuring the company's business, yeah, I can do it. Yeah. For example, let's say I feel that okay, this particular department, like maybe the HR department has been rendered redundant. I try to look at their performance over the years. It's not like the company is doing bad. Yeah. I just feel that looking at this, it's not contributing to the development of the company. Yeah. Because of that, I decide to make the entire department redundant. Yeah. And I go for a retrenchment. Yeah. So really, I don't, unfortunately, I don't have like a list of answers to this because it really
Correct.
case to case basis.
It really
But
depends. Yeah.
as a general rule, a company has to understand that it has the right. It is also accepted by the courts in both industrial court and civil court that a company has every right and prerogative to manage or restructure its business as it sees fit. Yeah, it's just that it becomes a bit iffy when it comes to dismissing, when your exercise involves dismissing an employee. Why? Because whenever in Malaysia, whenever an employee is dismissed, whether by way of retrenchment or dismissal, or even constructive dismissal or forced resignation, an employee always has the right to go to the the labor office to lodge a complaint of unfair dismissal. Yeah, pursuant to Section 20 Sub 1 of the Industrial Relations Act. Yeah, so that means anytime you fire someone, a person can go and lodge a complaint against you. Yeah. So which then, if you tie in with this whole idea of retrenchment, means that okay, even though I can retrench at any given moment, or I can try to restructure my business at any given moment, there are steps that I have to take to make sure that when and if a complaint is lodged against me, I am safe in the comfort to knowing that I have done what I can and I did not break any laws from the company's perspective. Yeah. So that even if you have to go and fight the case in the labor office or industrial court, you will know, okay, I have a fairly solid case. What is the likelihood of unfair dismissal case being made out against me? Pretty low. Yeah.
I see. Is things like VSS, is it part of retrenchment exercise or is a separate thing?
VSS can be considered an arm of retrenchment, yeah, but VSS is more of a voluntary thing. Yeah, that's why it's called voluntary separation scheme, whereby you draw up a particular scheme, a particular compensation scheme, and it is accepted. Yeah, a retrenchment generally refers to the company's position, the company's unilateral act to tell you I'm retrenching you. Yeah, so whilst the outcome is the same, the connotation is slightly different. Yeah, VSS is I'm giving you the option to take this and leave. Retrenching is I'm not giving you the option. Yeah,
I already choose you already. You
I'm
like,
giving
you
the
don't like.
notice. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So, what are some of the general rules or steps in employee retrenchment that an employer must follow?
Yeah. This is the most, I think, the most interesting aspect of this talk today. Yeah, like what I said earlier, when it comes to managing risk. Yeah, for company, I feel that one of the first things, whatever department you are in or whatever management level you are in, it always comes to the issue of managing risk, whether it's risk costs or whether it's legal risk. So when it comes to managing risk of dealing with retrenchment exercises, yeah, there are certain steps that I would recommend, or even recommended by the law, existing cases, decided cases, that a company should take before they try to retrench any individual or even any group of employees. Yeah. So, generally, I would divide this into two main points. Yeah. First is, what is ground for your retrenchment justified? Yeah, that's the first point. Yeah. So, like for example, I'm retrenching you, and the reason I'm giving is the company is not doing well. Yeah, the company is suffering making no profits or even suffering a loss. Yeah. So that is my reason. So when I go to industrial court, so if a complaint is lodged against me, this will be the main point I'm relying on, right, as grounds for retrenchment. Yeah. So then, if I go to court and this is the ground, I have to justify. Look, I have suffered. I'm saying that my reason for retrenching is company is not doing well. So how do I prove it? How do I justify it? When I go to the labor office or when I go to the industrial court, I probably have to show my profit and loss account or even my audited accounts or financial statements. Yeah. Any Sendirian Berhad, you would have your financial statements that have to be filed every year. Yeah. To show the courts, look, the company is not doing well. Yeah. One of the examples. Yeah. Or if let's say I'm retrenching someone on grounds of redundancy. Yeah. So nothing to do with financial difficulties or whatever. So if it's redundancy, what do I need to show? Yeah, how do I justify the issue of redundancy? I will probably have to show evidence to say, look, this particular department, we are no longer, let's say, we are at this point we are servicing a specific type of clientele, and that's why we have this department. Yeah, as part of the company's restructuring exercise, we have decided to cut off this kind of clientele, which has then made this particular department redundant. That's why I have to retrench the entire team, right? So if I go to court, how do I justify this? Yeah, so it always boils back to how do I justify the grounds for retrenchment? That's the first point. Yeah, and the second point, which is probably the most important point, yeah, in any matters brought to the industrial court, yeah, is this retrenchment exercise carried out bona fide or in good faith? Yeah, because why in the jurisprudence of Malaysian employment law or the industrial court in Malaysia, it's always based on the principle of justice and fairness. Yeah, so they always look at whether is this done in good faith, is this done fairly, is this done with just cause and excuse. Yeah, which is why if we refer back to section 20 sub 1, the term there is dismissal with just cause or excuse. Yeah, so whenever you go to an industrial court, the burden is on the company in a normal dismissal case to prove that I've dismissed you fairly. Yeah. So see, when it comes to retrenchment exercises, have I carried out the retrenchment exercise fairly, in good faith, bona fide? Yeah, these are generally the terms associated with the principles of carrying out the retrenchment exercises. Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
those are two general points. Yeah. When it comes to branching up to the smaller issues, yeah. So, like for example, maybe I would elaborate a bit, yeah, on redundancy. Yeah. For example, if I'm terminating someone on redundancy, an extra rule that you should contemplate or follow is the last in first out principle, yeah, or the liable principle, what we call. Yeah. If you do some research, if you Google Malaysia, if you Google, try to Google search terms, on like retrenchment exercises, on redundancy, you'll probably see this word LIFO, LIFO, last in first out. Yeah. What it means is really, okay, if I'm terminating or I'm retrenching someone on grounds of redundancy, I have to be able to show that this person that I'm retrenching is in fact the most junior person to join. Yeah, which is why the last in first out. That means whoever is the last to join the company should be the first to be retrenched. Yeah, but just be very careful because a lot of people, a lot of companies would seem to take this last in first out principle as though it is like a mandatory principle or is that I have to follow. Yeah? But the reality is that you don't have, it's not mandatory to follow the last in first out principle. Yeah, because there are a lot of other factors involved as well. For example, let's say if I have a team, yeah, of business development managers, I have 3, yeah, joining different years, A, B, C. He has joined most recently, yeah, but in terms of performance, yeah, he probably outperformed A and B, yeah. So if I can justify that to say that C is actually contributing a lot to my company, yeah, he can bring in sales, he can bring in leads, yeah. So even if he's the last person to join, does it mean that I mandatorily have to let him be the first to leave? No. Yeah, I can still justify to, let's say I want to retrench A and B instead on grounds of performance. Yeah, look, I want to make this 3 persons we are not making money out of this if you are maintaining 3 people. So I've decided to cut 1 person. Yeah, so in that basis, I would say, okay, since C is still bringing business for me, I will contemplate retrenching A or B. Yeah, so they are not the last person in, but I can still retrench them. provided, again, we go back to the original first point, can I justify my grounds of retrenching the person? Yeah, right? Then, so I would say that generally in Malaysia, if you look at the trend over the last couple of years, I would say mainly on redundancy or uh, financial difficulties. I'm sure a lot of companies will be facing this over the last 1.5 years. Yeah, but you see, a lot of companies also tend to abuse this. Yeah, so they will use this excuse to say, "Hey, the company is not doing well." Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to retrench someone. Yeah, when in fact probably that is just because this person is not doing well, and I don't want to like obtain compensation. I'll just retrench or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
So, what are the rules and principles, right, when I want to retrench someone on financial difficulties? Yeah. Uh, you see, when you go to court, everything is based on evidence. Yeah. So, whatever it is that you do, before you retrench someone or before you dismiss someone, all the groundwork and all the case building should be done pre-dismissal, pre-retrenchment. Yeah. So what do I say? So in the issue of financial difficulties, yeah, I would always advise a client, okay, if you come to me, you tell me you want to retrench someone on grounds of financial difficulties, I would ask, okay, check a financial statement. You know, is it still
Yeah.
showing a profit or not? Is it still or is it already showing a loss? Look at your profit and loss account. Can we look at last year and this year, compare? Yeah, is there a loss or is there less profits? Yeah, so even if there's less profits, yeah, can you still sustain this person or not? Yeah, another issue is also has the company undergone any other cost cutting measures? Yeah, so a lot of companies always seem to think that, okay, if I want to cut costs straight away, I cut employees first, but there are also a lot of ways to cut costs. Yeah, so, for example, like maybe I will shut down a particular plant. I close down a factory instead of like renting this factory. Yeah, and having to pay more rental. I decide to close down this factory, move all my employees here. It's also a form of cost cutting measures. Yeah. So then, really, the question again boils back. Whatever I say today will go back to the two main points. Yeah. Is this a justifiable reason? Yeah. If I want to retrench you on grounds of financial difficulties, how do I justify it? Yeah. And is there valid evidence to justify my ground before I retrench you?
Interesting. Yeah, which is true. I think these are some of the challenges that in your years, in your 10 years doing this, are there any interesting case study that you could remember or you could relate to that perhaps you could share some glimpse to our audience?
In terms of interesting matter, honestly speaking, I think when it comes to matters in the industrial court, they are generally quite boring. Yeah, because I think why? Because why do I say so? Is because you see, unlike certain areas of law in Malaysia, the laws on employment matters and labor disputes in Malaysia is pretty settled. Yeah, there's not much room for like creative out of the box argument to try to win the
I see.
case. A lot of cases that has been decided 10, 20 years ago is still a point of reference today. Yeah, if you actually go into reported cases, yeah, 2021 cases, 2020 cases, they will be referring to authorities decided in 1980, 1990. Because these principles have already been established since then. Yeah, but and like what I said earlier as well. Yeah, in Malaysia, typically most reported cases don't run much away from redundancy or financial difficulties. Yeah,
These two are the main
the two
main
main ones.
driving forces. So I think what is most important from what I heard from you is employer must do its part to discharge before taking retrenchment, and they need to be able to justify it. And there are measures they need to do to leave the employees better off before they just directly take that whatever retrenchment exercise. While there could be
Yeah,
many other options, they need to exhaust that option before they go straight to just employee retrenchment. Because it is true, like for us, when we take care of our client's account, the biggest cost is always staff cost. So anytime if they want to save in cash flow and staff cost, going there is the easiest thing that they can think of, rather than like what you say, maybe negotiate rental or maybe move the operation to a more cost effective place, or even sometimes, doing a pay cut across the board rather than doing retrenchment may also work sometimes. Yeah.
yep. you just pointed it out, a salary reduction or even a salary deferment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of going straight out to retrench, yeah, you are showing, in fact, if a company, right, before, of course, maybe a company's first idea would be to retrench, to cut costs, yeah. But maybe on a company's perspective, if you think about it, strategically speaking, right, before I go straight out to retrench someone, yeah, if I take certain other steps, for example, look, I have a talk with this, I have a chat with this employee, I'll say, look, the company is not doing well, company probably has to retrench, but I don't want to retrench as much as I can. You guys are loyal employees to me. I am hoping, maybe now I'm putting this proposal to you. Can you consider this salary reduction or salary deferment uh, exercise? Yeah. Most employees, as we know it, probably won't accept. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not? I've yet to see any employers would be very happy to take a salary reduction or to defer my salary. Yeah. But you see, on the company's perspective, if you had taken all these steps and you have documentation to prove it, yeah, and when the employee rejects such proposal, it would make your idea or your step of retrenching the employee more
More solid lah.
reasonable. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more feasible. It's more easy to believe. Yeah,
Correct.
uh, and you would show that I have carried out my retrenching exercise in good faith. I've actually
Yeah.
done all of this,
Yeah.
but the
I've
employee don't
exhausted
accept.
it.
Yep.
Yeah. An
What else
employee will
can I
never
do?
accept it. Yeah, I remember
Exactly.
consulting a company. Even we do a town hall meeting, we show them the audited financial statement. We even show them bank statement, and we told them this is where the company is. We got to do a unpaid leave exercise because of this whole lockdown. Like for example, certain industry like construction, you cannot construct from home. So basically, it's asking the workers and the supervisor or the project team to, they can't work at all. They can't function at home. So I think, yeah, like you said, they will never like it. But I think it's good that the employer take the initiative to do that at the first step first before they move straight to a retrenchment. I think that's where the bona fide thing that you talk about, in good faith, you have done that, and then they have cut down operation, cut down, company car, cut down whatever, they have cut until they cannot cut anymore, and then they go to staff. I think that's where I think the retrenchment exercise is more acceptable to everyone. Nobody like it. I think even sometimes for employers it's a nightmare, to even for them to tell the staff bye-bye, sometimes it's very, very challenging too. Which is true.
Yep, I agree. Uh, but company has to try to stay afloat, right?
Yeah.
Maintaining staffs at the expense of losing money. Why am I even running a business?
Yeah. So I think it's always a catch-22. Even like this lockdown, some of our clients actually call us, is like, Alex, I got 300 grand. Is it better for me just to cut everything and then just lay low and then use this 300 to restart? Because if I put this 300, I can even last 2 months. So sometimes,
but if you think about it,
yeah.
But if you think about it, Alex, this actually makes the whole idea of taking more steps. A lot of companies probably try to make knee-jerk reactions by going retrenchment straight away. Yeah, but they fail to consider or contemplate what are the risks or what are the legal risks or what are the cost risks involved thereafter. Yeah. So if they actually try to consult someone, an expert like you or someone else, whomever, try to get some advice and try to take certain steps in. Yeah. For example, what we have suggested earlier. Yeah. So that later on, when it comes to the risk, like now, okay, I've retrenched, I've taken all these steps, I've retrenched. Yeah. Even if someone lodges a complaint of unfair dismissal against me later on, I'm not afraid. Because I've carried
Yeah.
out it in bona fide. So my
Yeah.
liability or my cost exposure or liability exposure there is pretty minimal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So some companies should, I think a lot of companies should always have this in mind. When it comes to cost-cutting measures, don't just look at it in how much I can save now and straight away retrench. Yeah, you also have to consider what are your cost exposures and liability exposures in the future if you do not undertake proper and legal steps before you go for this retrenchment exercise.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes can be a nightmare if they just retrench. Later, when the economy reopen, they don't have staff, then they get LAD, late delivery, they couldn't deliver, and then someone needs to go to court to handle, industrial relationship matter. I think it's a double nightmare sometimes. Yeah. So what are some of the act or bodies that employer needs to refer to as part of their retrenchment exercise?
Okay. In Malaysia, as far as laws are concerned, the two main acts of parliament that are applicable for all employment issues in Malaysia would be the Employment Act, 1950, and the Industrial Relations Act, 1967. Yeah. If, on top of this, I'm just giving a few smaller pointers, just extra tips for the audience. On top of it, if you have employees earning 2,000 ringgit and below, yeah, one additional regulation that you have to consider is the Employment Termination and Layoff Benefits Regulations 1980. Yeah, so these regulations applies to any employee earning 2,000 ringgit below, meaning employees falling within the definition of Employment Act. Yeah. So if you are retrenching an employee within the definition of the Employment Act, you have to pay compensation in accordance to the regulations. Yeah. I don't really remember the exact figures off the top of my head, but it should be like 10 days for each month of service, each year of service, additional compensation or some of that sort. Yeah, it's very easy. You just need to Google and look for employment termination and layoff benefits regulations 1980. Yeah. Another thing that another two things, I will give two extra tips. It's also this thing called Code of Conduct for Industrial Harmony. Yeah. A lot of people are not really aware of this because it's not really a law per se. Yeah. This Code of Conduct for Industrial Harmony is actually just a guideline. Yeah. So for if a company refers to the Code of Conduct for Industrial Harmony and undertakes the steps in there before they retrench a person, yeah, it just makes the idea of this being a bona fide exercise more believable. Yeah, but just fret not. Even if I don't follow this Code of Conduct for Industrial Harmony, it doesn't mean the retrenchment exercise is mala fide. No, yeah, it's just an additional thing that you can refer to.
Yeah, it's also good. At least they know roughly what are the things on top of the law, what are the guidelines, and what are the general industry accepted practices as a guidance.
Yeah. And one final thing, which I'm quite sure a lot of the SMEs in Malaysia wouldn't really be aware of, is this thing called borang PK. Yeah. A lot of people seem to think the major companies, the big companies with proper HR department, they will be aware of this. Yeah. But smaller companies, they generally are not aware of this. What is this borang PK? Whenever this is actually a gazette issued way earlier, many years ago, to say that if a company wants to retrench or undergo a retrenchment exercise or even a salary reduction exercise, you actually have to fill up this borang pemberhentian kerja, short form borang PK, and submit it to the Labour Office before the retrenchment exercise takes place. Yeah. So there will be, you can actually obtain this form from the website or even go to the office, ask for the borang PK, say you need to go for a retrenchment exercise, you need to fill in the borang PK. Yeah. This borang PK is not a legal requirement. That means I don't have to fill it up before justifying my retrenchment. Yeah. It's just a notice to the Labour Office. Yeah. So even if you don't fill it up, it's not like a retrenchment exercise, it's mala fide or it's unfair dismissal. Yeah, but you just have to be very aware is that under in the Employment Act, there's a particular section that says that all companies have to submit whatever documents required by the ministry or the Labour Office. Yeah. So if this document is not submitted, even though your retrenchment exercise can still be held valid, you might fall foul of this particular section, which would open yourself to being subjected to legal action by the ministry, and might be fined for non-compliance with this particular section. I don't really remember, but if it should be section 105, but I don't really remember. Yeah, so I do apologize for it. Yeah. So again, but that being said, I've not seen any reported cases on companies being sued or being fined for non-compliance of this submitting the borang PK. Yeah, not that I know of.
Okay. Yeah. True. Yeah, I remember doing some employee cost optimization. Even part of pay cut is also good to inform the Labour Office. And I think when an employer actually do this action, they are then conscious about some of the guideline. They are then conscious about the Code of Industrial Harmony. They are then conscious about have I done my part as an employer before I do any pay cut or retrenchment or whatever exercise. And I think that provide the avenue for employer to plan before they do anything. I think for a lot of SME, the most dangerous one sometimes are the what we call the China man one. When they suddenly want to do this and then they ping pong, and that's when a lot of time the shit hit the fans for employer. So if you are employers out there, SME, and you are listening, they ask that, and if you are unsure, come and talk to us or any other professionals to know your step, like what Mr. Lim has been saying. There are some guidelines, and if you follow, it automatically puts you on track in terms of the bona fide, where you are justifying it and you're doing your part in discharging your responsibility rather than just go straight to take the bull by its horn, and that's where it's very dangerous. I think that's the main thing I get from here, and it's consistent with how Intune, how we support our client in terms of HR advisory. And sometimes when it gets too complicated, we always ask them, you better get a HR lawyer expert, employment law expert in terms of some of these. Because I've also read, many cases where a company can lose up to $1 million if they are retrenching a high position if they don't do it properly. And I think that's where some of the challenge will be. Yeah. Interestingly, cowboy style retrenchment. Wow. And I think it's a good 30 minutes and we have so much relevant information. So again, for some of you who got any question, you can post on the comment. I don't see any question tonight. Again, importantly, disclaimer, every case is different and is unique depending on the case and depending on the evidence or documentation or the flow of event. Again, we stress enough that you need to seek professional to get proper advice. You can, of course, come to us, Intune, or you can obviously goes to GLT. So for more information about GLT, you can visit them at gltlaw.my or get them at their number 037621 4447. And if you want to come to Intune, our website is intune.my, or you can call us at our hotline 012-288-2209. So that's all for tonight. Any closing statement for our SME? One last tip, any closing from you, Mr. Lim?
I would say my last closing statement would be, if in doubt, contact Alex.
Yeah, and if we cannot handle, we will refer you to the professional legal side. So there's also a limit to what we can do. Yeah, I think importantly, like what you said, don't do the cowboy style retrenchment. They are way and they are step, and don't take shortcut. It's not worth it. We have seen many of our clients who took shortcut. In the end, a simple exercise become very complicated and very, very costly.
Yeah, I would say this slight additional effort undertaken at an earlier stage would save you a lot of time, effort, and money subsequently. Yeah,
Okay.
especially for SMEs, because SMEs at this particular point in time, really, you really want to know how to manage your risk and cost. Yeah, just go for these additional steps, and you would be much better off subsequently.
Yeah. So there's a question from the floor asking about 2,000 salary and above. Do we have to pay compensation? The answer is definitely yes. It depends on the tenure of the employment. It's just the calculation is slightly different for below 2,000 and above 2,000.
Yeah, maybe to take on John's question, whenever you're earning 2,000 and above, we always try to refer back to the employment contract. Yeah. So if I'm retrenching a person, what is the notice period? Yeah. There is no, because there is no regulations or law to talk about additional compensation, like the layoff benefits for earning 2,000 and below. Yeah. Then it's really at the prerogative of the company if you want to pay additional compensation. Yeah. If you do not, normally, as long as you pay the compensation in accordance to the notice period, the company would be pretty safe in terms of what has been paid out. Then it's just about justifying whether your retrenchment exercise was done bona fide.
Okay. So the notice period is equally important. Yeah, to refer to your letter of employment. Okay, any more question from the floor before we end the session? Thank you for that question, John. I hope we answered your question. Yeah. So if not, that will be it for tonight. And stay in tune for more Intune Business Series. We will have more with GLT, where we bring a legal perspective to SME, where we educate SME in terms of some of the legal perspective in all areas, from contracts to employment. So if you're looking for a holistic firm that can offer you a wide range, do consider GLT, and we wish you all the best and stay strong, stay safe as we recover from this pandemic. Good night. Yeah.
Intune Outsourcing is providing you a full scope of accounting from A to Z, exactly like an accounting department with a CFO, but not based in your office. Intune enters supplier invoices into accounts payable and do reconciliation with suppliers to make sure that our records are correct. Intune also processes payments to suppliers, staff, and expenses, updating sales invoices into accounts receivable, including collection received, providing statement of accounts to clients so that they can collect and chase money from their customers, providing the financial reports, including but not limited to profit and loss, balance sheets, cash flow, debtors and creditors aging, advisory and financial coaching, including presentation of accounts, highlighting key areas and key analytics to improve and grow clients' businesses. At the year end, we represent our clients to work with their auditors and tax agents for compliance matters. Intune also represent our clients to deal with different bodies and agencies such as Income Tax Office, Customs Department, EPF, SOCSO, and other authorities for matters relating to finance, business, and HR. So if you're still facing accounting problems, you need a professional like Intune to help you. Well, get Intune to fine-tune your decision.